Earlier this week, a man who threatened to kill Representative Ilhan Omar is facing sentencing now, and Ilhan Omar weighs in, and it's actually fascinating what she says should happen to this man. So to catch you up on this particular case, because you're probably saying, well, aren't there a lot of death threats against these women? Yes, there are, but finally there are consequences. On Monday, Mr. Carlineo, this is Patrick Carlineo of Addison, New York, outside Buffalo, pleaded guilty to threatening to kill Miss Omar. Just a bit of what he said back in the day was he called in, asked a member of her staff, do you work for the Muslim Brotherhood? Why are you working for her? She's a blank terrorist. Somebody ought to put a bullet in her skull. Back in the day, our forefathers would have put a bullet in her expletive. I'll put a bullet in her expletive skull. So it was a little bit repetitive there. Now, in an interview with the FBI at his home about a week after that call, he described himself as a patriot who loved Mr. Trump and hated, quote, radical Muslims in our government. He told an FBI agent that he believed Miss Omar supported Islamic militant groups such as Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, and that her election to Congress was illegitimate. I mean, he could have heard about that stuff, those theories, anywhere. Who knows who could have possibly clued him into that? But it wasn't just a call, it was the fear that he might act out on it. Because about a week later, authorities found a loaded .45 caliber handgun, 3 rifles, 2 shotguns, and hundreds of rounds of ammunition at his home. Because of a 1998 felony conviction, he was legally prohibited from owning a firearm.
All rules that many people in our government would disagree with him having to be held under.
Exactly. I mean, he did his time, I guess. Why can't he own a gun? And so what if, he's listening to crazies that are telling him that simply because she is a Muslim, she's some sort of threat to America on some level, and he clearly believed it, called her up to threaten her, and just happened to have the firearms to make good on his threat. Well, in any event, he faces up to 10 years in prison. Right now, he's free under conditions that include a curfew and restrictions on travel. But in advance of his actual sentencing, Representative Ilhan Omar put out a letter to the judge in this case. She tweeted saying, sharing my full letter on the sentencing, a man convicted of threatening my life. We must apply a system of compassion to criminal justice. Who are we as a nation if we respond to threats of political retribution with retribution ourselves? And she goes on in this letter, which you can find in full on her Twitter account, to say, the answer to hate is not more hate, it is compassion. Punishing the defendant with a lengthy prison sentence or a burdensome financial fine would not rehabilitate him. It would not repair the harm he has caused. It would only increase his anger and resentment. And she quoted Nelson Mandela, who once said, people must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. She ended by pleading with the judge, I ask you to show compassion in your sentencing. That's amazing. It's
pretty amazing. And although all the things that she said are true, there's backups with Nelson Mandela quotes and the way we need to apply a system of compassion or justice because these are humans, and it's lovely. Those are lovely words. They make me feel good inside, but she's completely wrong. I mean, she's a better person than I am. Okay, not that she's wrong. She's not wrong, because I already said that she's right. I
so you're siding
completely
with the
disagree
other guy.
with her.
No, okay.
That's all. I just 100% disagree with her on this approach to this particular thing. And again, not to not do it, but that's not how I want to operate for personally myself.
What would you have advised her to do?
We have a history of going after people and putting them away even when they haven't done anything that's egregious. So cool, it's okay if you don't want to. But we also have this system where it's still the case where we're trying to deter people from doing something in the future. So if we don't look to deter them from doing this, then we're gonna just deter certain people that we choose to deter, and then we'll be lenient on people like this. And I don't think that's gonna solve any problems either. Again, she's a better person I am, and it's actually an honorable position to take. It's a position that I'm not honorable enough to agree with.
It's really interesting because I feel the same way. She's a better person than me, and she made me agree with her, I think. I would not have, I don't think that she necessarily had to get involved at all. And I take these sorts of threats really seriously. I take political violence super seriously. I would argue more than the vast majority of people in media. I think most people are underrating how much of a threat this actually is. But if she believes, as the vast majority of progressives do, that our criminal justice system, our prison system, should be changed from its long-standing, horrendous standard operating procedures based around making either the actual victims or the believed victims feel better about a conviction or something like that, just retribution against the people that committed crimes, to something more humane that also has the cool side effect of actually stopping recidivism, in the way that places like Norway and other countries like that do. If you actually believe that, then why not start with the case that directly involves you? And she's putting her criminal justice money where her mouth is and saying, even at the risk of my own life, I am going to stick with my philosophy in this.
And it's cool. So by the way, my read on her saying, I ask you to show compassion in your sentencing, as she said to the judge, I took that to mean a lesser sentence. Maybe it means something else. Maybe compassion and sentencing.
I think she believes, like, I think it was community service and things like that.
Yeah, so a lesser sentence.
Yeah.
So my assumptions apparently were correct. If it goes to maybe rehabilitation, as you said, to keep recidivism coming down. But there's rehabilitation versus leniency. So if you want to rehabilitate him, cool. I'm not just looking for punishments. He can go to jail and get beat up or whatever. But what's the rehab process versus this leniency? Leniency isn't going to rehab him and teach him the love that Nelson Mandela told you when you teach him versus the hate that his parents probably taught him or that his daddy Donald Trump taught him.
I just want to finally say, if we lived in anything even approaching a reasonable, rational society, this letter that she sent, like conservatively hundreds of thousands, millions of Americans who believe that she's some sort of enemy of America would read that letter and think, I have been led so far astray. This is so much more compassionate. Remember the book that I say that I love, the Bible? This is influenced by that sort of loving philosophy far more than the, lock them up, toss away the key, and maybe electrocute them philosophy of the people that say that they love the Bible. Like, the fact that so few people actually read this, so few people will be convinced by it, that is really disheartening. But whether we agree with the strategy or not, she's a good human being,
absolutely.
At the very least.
We absolutely can agree on that.
Yes. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.